Welcome. This is Nicole from Illuminated Movement Astrology, here to talk about the eclipse happening today on October the 28th or 29th, depending on where you live in the world, 2023. Now, this is a powerful eclipse because it's closing out a cycle that began in November of 2021. I think it's absolutely perfect that this particular eclipse, this particular full moon, is happening in the sign of Taurus. Given everything that's happened in the last 2 years, it's no wonder that we've been going through issues of survival. When the nodes are in the Taurus Scorpio axis, one of the main themes of that axis is around survival. So we've had all of these issues around body autonomy, around inflation, around food and food insecurity, war and grief and tyrannical powers coming up with that Scorpio South node, really bringing that stuff to the surface. Also Pluto, of course, being in Capricorn, doubling down on digging those things up and showing them to us and showing us where we need to transform our values, right? Uranus has been in Taurus for several years now, showing us that we have to think outside the box. We have to change things up. We need to remember and recognize our true value. And that's one of the beautiful things that Taurus does, is that no matter what gets stripped away on the outside, no matter what losses there are or grief or betrayals or anything else that could have come up in the last couple of years, Taurus reminds us that we are strong from within, right? It's our talents, our resources, our value from inside. That's what gets us through any storm. And Taurus is an incredible sign. It's the sign that withstands, right? It can weather any storm and come back, bounce back, and make things beautiful again and bountiful again. So I love that this eclipse cycle, in a sense, is closing with some hope, right? Hope for the future, that we know who we are wiser, we're more sure-footed, we're not going to just lay down and forget that we have value too. We're going to stand up to those things, right? That's the beauty of Taurus. And remembering that when we bring things to relationship, we have to bring our true self, right? We have to have as much of that out as we can, because the thing about Taurus is it only gets so far on its own, right? And there's a moment in life where no matter who we are, what we're doing, we can only get so far on our own. Now, it's very important that we do things on our own. If we don't know how to stand on our own, right, the shadow side of Taurus is it can become needy, right, too dependent on other people, which would be its opposite side in Scorpio. And the challenge is when we get to Scorpio, right, Scorpio is about merging resources, right? When you and me come together, we create a third thing. We could create an us, right? And that us is able to do bigger things than either party could do on their own. And that's one of the beautiful things about Scorpio. But the challenge is making sure that whomever or whatever it is that you are joining up with, that you are joining your resources with, that you're aligning your talents, that you're aligning, your self-value with, is aligned, is worthy, is not going to be taking advantage, right? Taurus is so bountiful and really values peace so much that occasionally it can in these situations where it gets taken advantage of. And that's one of the tough things for Taurus, is not being taken advantage of. So learning to say no, right? Learning to have boundaries. That's really important for that Taurus axis, and that may be easier or not as easier for you. It just, of course, depends on the subject and what we're talking about. So the last 2 years, how has that changed for you? How have maybe the darker sides of Scorpio-like things, Plutonic-like things, come up for you, right? And how have you weathered the storm? And how much more stronger and more sure of yourself and more in tune with your own body and your own value and the world around you? Taurus also has to do with Mama Gaia and Earth, right? How much have those things changed for the better? I hope on this eclipse you remember how beautiful and wonderful and amazing that you are. All right, so now we're going to take a look at how this eclipse may be affecting you depending on where it lands in your chart. I'm going to begin with house number 1, and I'm going to go all the way through house number 12. Now, as usual, I have to do the little disclaimer that this is a general reading, so it may or may not pertain to your exact situation, since I can't look at your specific chart on the internet, right, in this way. If you do want your chart looked at in specific, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much happening, Nicole. What do I do? What's going on? I do specialize in readings, helping people discover the gifts within the chaos, right, and the challenges that they may be experiencing, and to uncover and remember who they truly are so they can stand in this world being their best, favorite, most empowered version of themselves. All right, so without further ado, starting with the first house. So we're going to be looking at Taurus and Taurus rising. So in that first house, we're looking at the self, right? We're looking at your identity, your vitality, your first impressions when you walk out the door. You know, how do you meet the world and how does the world meet you? Well, it's through Taurus. And so this eclipse and the nodal cycle that proceeded from 2021 until now has really been talking to your literal self, right? Your house of self and your value and how you feel that those things have changed over the course of the last 2 years. The opposite side, that seventh house in Scorpio, looking at relationships, right? How have your relationships, your one-on-one relationships, changed over the past 2 years? Do you feel like there's a little bit more equality or give and take, or that you're able to be a little bit more autonomous during this time? The other big piece here, you know, that Pluto has been going through Capricorn, right? So going through that ninth house, changing potentially your beliefs, right? The people that you interact with, the way in which you make contacts in a long distance way. So this could have also opened up your world, changed some things about your self-concept and about your value, where you are and what you're doing. With the nodes moving through Aries and Libra, it's going to be going through your 12th and 6th house. So now that you've had a chance to kind of retool or reimagine or revalue, right, who you are and what you want to do going forward, what resources you have, how can you put those things in a sense to kind of a quiet action? Because when we're talking about 12th house Aries, that's such an interesting place. Aries really wants independence, right? So looking at the space of being with people and being away, like, is that balanced in your day-to-day life and those routines and how that may be shaking up or changing for you in those ways? I'm going to pull a card, actually. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this or not, but I'm going to be using the Spirit Animal deck by Colette, Baron-Reid. And I think I am going to do this. We'll give you guys each a message. So from, oh, that one flipped. All right. Snake Spirit. So it's a time to heal. Card 55 here. Upright position. So we've got 55, 55. Come on, 55. All right. The message is all of us need healing at times. And when Snake Spirit appears, it is time to repair, renew, and replenish yourself and your vulnerable heart. Oh, self-care and maintenance work are needed so that your vitality can arise. Give yourself the space to nourish your own well-being. Vulnerability is necessary for friendships and partnerships to work, which means all of us will have tender emotions at times. Be gentle with yourself and others now. Shed the past and step into a new way of being, for vitality is rising in you. This might be a good time to honor the work you have done to heal, grow, and repair any damage within you, within those you care about, and within your community. Celebrate together how far all of you have come in your healing journey and all that you have created. Unburden yourself of anything that no longer supports wellness, prosperity, positive relationships, and well-being, and open the door for healing to occur. Oh, that's such a beautiful card. That is so perfect for you, Taurus, right? Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys didn't watch that, I'll re-say it now, but talking about Taurus being unbothered, right? Taurus is really a peaceful sign, and part of your nature is wanting that peacefulness in your life, wanting that feeling solid, recognizing your value so that when you bring yourself to the table and whatever it is that you do, you're coming from a place where you feel grounded and stable. And when that happens and you recognize your worth, everybody wins. So love that for Taurus. All right. We have Aries and Aries rising, second house. So this eclipse, Taurus, happening in your house of resources, right? Your possessions, your self-worth and your self-value, your talents and capacities, your money, right? And your earning power and your relationship to value. So over the last 2 years, how have those things been changing for you? Have you discovered new talents that you didn't realize you have, or maybe you just uncovered things that you didn't realize were actually a great asset to have? How have you been thinking outside the box about the way in which you want to earn money? The way in which you want to even, barter or trade your services. This doesn't just have to be about money, right? It's about currency. It's about exchange of energy, right? One thing for another. So how has that changed? Particularly when it comes to Scorpio being in your eighth house, joint resources. There may have been some big changes. It may have fallen on you to be, in some cases, more of the provider, right? You may have had more of a financial burden. There may have been a lot more ups and downs, right? Uranus being in that second house can bring some unexpected changes. Those could be good. Those could be, not so wanted, not so great in the short term. It really depends, but having that kind of up and down, maybe having a little bit more responsibility happening for you over these last couple of years. And hopefully, whether or not that's true for you, you're able to see that you have a lot of value and you have a lot to give, so that when you're entering in with any joint venture, that you recognize what you bring to the table. Like, hopefully that has really solidified for you over these past couple of years. And so that when you're in that place, in that space of wanting to merge resources, values, your physical body, you recognize your own inherent worth and what you bring. That eighth house, also the house of regeneration. So what has been regenerating for you? What has been going through a phoenix moment over these last couple of years? We've got Scorpio in its own realm, right? In that eighth house, that's where Scorpio naturally sits in the zodiac. So where have you found a space and place where you're recharging, you're revitalizing, and you have a rebirth moment? Whatever's been going on for you there, and how can you keep that going forward as you move into these nodes, right? Being in your first house, seventh house, how do you keep that energy going where in your one-on-one relationships, partnerships? Remember, the seventh house also has to do with open enemies, people that we know are adversaries or against us. How can you let go or move past some of those areas and places and people where maybe you have put yourself in the past in a place where other people are having more say or more influence, or in some way it's been maybe not as equal as it needs to be going forward? So how has that changed for you? Especially because you've had Pluto going through your 10th house since 2008. So that's that house of our outside life, our public life, our social life. For some of us, it also means our career. That of course is dependent on where you are in life, but in any case, it's kind of your social status, your social badge, how people see you. That's been undergoing tremendous transformation, tremendous transformation. And again, how that has changed your abilities and your recognition of your own talents, values, and resources. I'm guessing you've probably had to be a little bit maybe scrappy, which is a great thing. Taurus is so brilliant at you know, finding ways to have, what do they say, champagne on a beer budget, so to speak. So finding out that you're probably a lot more resourceful than you thought, that you really can have your own back, right? When the going gets tough, like you are there for yourself. And how that has changed, in a sense, like who you want to be out in the world, what you want to be recognized for, what you want to build, and the legacies that you want to create and leave behind you in whatever way that makes sense for you. So pulling a card for you from the Spirit Animal Oracle deck by Colette Baron-Reid. My beautiful Aries rising, that amazing independent spirit that we all need. All right, so skunk spirit, and this one is upside down. So skunk spirit is about knowing your worth. And I love this. All of these so far have been so apropos. All right. All right, skunk. What do you want us to know? Not everyone will appreciate you. Many people have issues of their own to address, and you may trigger something in them. But if so, no matter. Skunk spirit calls you to be fully yourself without apology. How beautiful. Now is a time for honesty and admitting that something does not sit right for you. You deserve the self-respect that comes when you courageously choose to stand up for yourself and speak your truth in love. Remember who you are and what really matters to you, and act with integrity. You will be so glad you did. My Aries and Aries rising. I love that for you. I love that for you. And as I said, you know, making sure that the people you choose to partner with, or the ventures you choose to partner with, the things that you choose to join your energy with, this doesn't have to be about relationships, right? Really recognize your value. I think that oracle card was so perfect. Oh my gosh. I love this. So I hope this eclipse is amazing for you. All right. Third house, Pisces and Pisces rising. So we've got this eclipse happening in your third house of communication, of networking, neighbors, and your neighborhood. This could have to do with your early experiences in your childhood. This is short journeys. In the third house, you know, kind of in our modern life, it seems a little strange to say like short journeys, long journeys. They're almost getting archaic in a way that we're able to move about so easily, particularly with the internet, right? But when we're talking short journeys, we're talking about things that you could walk to, you could bike to, you could kind of just complete, you know, and maybe like a half a day kind of period, right? So looking at the things that are more in your immediate vicinity, I guess is what I'm getting at. And the third house also has to do potentially with siblings or lack thereof. So Pisces and Pisces rising, you have had a lot of changes in this area over the last couple of years, right? And so with Taurus being in the house of communication, your Taurus rules the throat and the throat chakra. Looking at, do you feel like you have a place and a space where you can communicate or speak your truth? You know, do the people who are in your community or around you, do you feel like they listen to you and value what you have to say? Have you recognized that you have valuable things to teach and to share and to say, to communicate or to network with? How is your local community? Do you feel like you are a valued member? Maybe that's within your own siblings, or again, it could be in your neighborhood. It could be in your community in a smaller sense, not necessarily a huge sense, but maybe it is. And really with that third ninth house axis, you've got Scorpio in your ninth house of beliefs and of what we call higher education, meaning things that are like trade schools or universities, or things that you do after you've completed your child and adolescent years. Okay. So how have those things been changing? How have your interactions with people that are close by you and far away from you, how has that changed? Are you finding yourself in a place or a space where maybe, you're wanting to change, make some shifts in who you call your neighbors or who you're communicating with? Um, it could have been that maybe you were doing a lot of travel or doing things that included stuff that was very far away, and now you're kind of want to coming back into your home base. With Pluto in that 11th house, a lot of changes to your groups, your associations, your friendships, um, the hopes and dreams and visions that you have for your future. And that could also indicate maybe a change in education or a change in learning, a change in thinking. Maybe you've acquired new knowledge, new skills, new beliefs that you're ready to speak out, that you're ready to share, that you're ready to put into some kind of practice, and realizing how valuable that they are. Maybe that's something that you can really bring back to your friend groups, or bring back to your social groups, your teams, your clubs, whatever it is that you're a part of. And recognizing that you have a lot to give. Maybe you're a student and you've decided that you want to change some of what you've been studying. Maybe that's partly taking, maybe in a sense, like control of what is valuable to you. In a sense, maybe there's been like an expectation, like everyone in your family are, I don't know, journalists, and you want to be a gardener, so you move on from like maybe broadcasting school to viticulture or something like that. But there could be some kinds of changes and expansion in your learning, your horizons, and those kinds of things, and really recognizing the value there. You've got Saturn in that first house too, Saturn and Neptune. So really undergoing some changes with your personal self and your identity, and how you're presenting yourself out in the world, how you are interacting with things that are larger than you, and how can you, in a sense, bring those big things back down and ground them and share them with the people that you're close to, that are nearby. And maybe that's in your family, maybe that's your local people. All right, so hard for you all. My Pisces and Pisces rising people. All righty, so, all right. Horse spirit, and it's reversed. So freedom is yours. Freedom is yours. All right, what's your message for this one? And again, I will put what deck I'm using in the description. All right, so freedom is yours. All right, so remember, this one is upside down. So when in this deck, when they're upside down, Colette Baron-Reid, she talks about them being a protection message. So freedom is yours, in a sense, like feeling like maybe freedom is not yours here. So the message is, are you feeling stuck? Has your spirit been broken by challenges you have faced? Your current choices may not seem the best, but you are not seeing the clearing ahead where you can break free and run. Whatever your choices right now, they can lead you to exhilarating freedom. So trust the guidance of spirit. Horse spirit is here to tell you that adventure calls, and you will soon realize your power is greater than you think. Perhaps your frustration and feelings of being fenced in are the result of being too much on your high horse, unwilling to come down to earth and join the herd that wants to support you. Oh, being in control and in charge can be overrated. It's time to loosen up, drop the reins, let go, and prance with others just for the fun of it. So yeah, going back to that, far away and nearby, and those friend groups really changing and feeling like all that stuff has changed your direction. Or again, this could be around, for some of you, education or family, and really coming back and being able to share whatever it is you've learned with those who are close by. So Loving, loving, loving that for you, Pisces and Pisces rising. All right, my Aquarius and Aquarius rising peeps. Well, you have got this energy moving through your fourth house. So for the last 2 years, changes to your foundation. This is your home. Now, this could be, in the natural zodiac, this is Cancer, the crab. So this could be literally the actual home dwelling, the house that you live in, or it could be Cancer, remember, takes their house, their shell with them. So it could be the home within yourself as well. This has to do with your private life, your safe space, any place where you feel like you can come and retreat. Okay, from the outer world, that's that 10th house. That's where that Scorpio energy is. And this again has to do with your inner world. Okay, your inner heart, your inner authority, your inner emotions, your ability to nurture your inner self. This could have something to do with your roots, your ancestors, your ancestral lineage, your heritage, the cultural background that you come from, your family, right? Your family tree. And this could also have to do with land or property, as is the fourth house areas. So with Taurus here, Taurus really wanting security, right? From the home, from the foundation of life. Like that is very valuable to you. Or if it hasn't been valuable to you, perhaps there's been something that has gone on that has redirected your appreciation to having a home base, an inner sense of value and security. And like, I can come back and retreat to myself, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's happening out there, which, holy cow, there's so much happening out there right now, right? Taurus having that peace, having that sense of I can come within. Again, whether that's a physical space you can retreat to, like a home, for instance, or if this has to do with your own inner world. This may also be some changes to how you feel about your family. And this could be your DNA family. This is possible as this is chosen family, but I feel like it's a little bit more towards DNA family. Yeah, having a new value and appreciation either for the family, for the things that you came from, perhaps from some of the values or resources or talents and gifts that you have, in a sense, inherited, that have been shown to you. Either that, or potentially there's been a wounding there, especially if you have Chiron in Taurus. There may have been, in a sense, healing and recovering that part of yourself. Like maybe you didn't feel valued within your home or your family, and that's something that you've been exploring and, in a sense, reclaiming your own your own worth within those structures. So something along those lines in there for you. And how this has really come up kind of, in a sense, against that outer world. So the private world, right? My inner world, my home world, in opposition to that 10th house Scorpio, where we've got that outer world. The people out there see me as Scorpio, and having a lot of changes in that area over the last 2 years. And this could be literal letting go of perhaps a social status, or perhaps a job or career path you thought you were going to be on. This could also be, just in a sense, how you want to partner with other people in a social way. So what do I mean by that? Scorpio, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video when I was talking about these energies, Scorpio really recognizes the need for, and in a sense, the value of having a you and me, and together we make a we. Together we make a third entity. We make something greater, not necessarily better, but that's the hope, right? Hopefully we're making something better than either one of us could achieve alone. And so being really, really choosy about whom it is that you choose to merge your reputation with, merge your business with, merge your social status with. Um, it could even be for some of you, that are parents. It could be changing those kinds of roles, whether it's something to do with how you are seen as a parent, or activities that you're involved in. How have those things changed? Have you undergone any alchemy, any transformation here in the last 2 years? I hate to say this because I like to keep things positive, but have you found that there has been any, in a sense, like disappointment is not quite the word, but disappointments or betrayals or loss or sadness, the things turning to ashes, right, over the last couple of years, necessitating a phoenix moment, a rebirth moment, right? Now, hopefully, the goal of the phoenix moment, right, is to create a rebirth of self, a version 2.0. Maybe it's 3.0, or maybe it's 2 million.0. It doesn't matter. But the goal is to transcend something that you've outgrown. And that can be something that's just a natural part, right? We naturally change, we naturally leave things behind, we naturally move on from things that are no longer serving us. The thing I like to tell my clients is, you don't stay in preschool forever, right? Eventually you move beyond that. And if you went back, as an adult and tried to sit in those chairs and like mess with the scissors and stuff, you have such a different relationship, right? Having to put your hand up and ask to go to the bathroom, all those kinds of things. Like, do you really want to go back there? No, it's kind of uncomfortable. You don't want to put on, shoes you wore when you were 6. They're not comfortable. They don't fit anymore because that's a natural progression of life. So it could have been something like that, like just a natural transformation, a natural uncovering of self. Or it could have been, again, something that happens through a loss, through a burning everything to the ashes moment. That's possible, and then finding the strength and the bravery. Scorpio is such a brave sign. It's so brave. It's ruled by Mars as well as Pluto, but the bravery to go there, the bravery to reinvent yourself, the bravery to let go of what doesn't work, the bravery to be vulnerable, the bravery to be intimate. So maybe, maybe your work or your social status or something has taken on a new vulnerability for you. Maybe that was something that was hard for you before. Maybe you really kept people kind of, at a distance. Scorpio can be a little suspicious, right? And not without reason, not because it's trying to look for problems. Sometimes it does, but it could be, kind of a little bit suspicious because it's gotten its heart broken so many times, or there's been so many disappointments. There's almost a sense of like, I don't know. Let me look at this a little bit longer before I jump in, because Scorpio gives its all. Wherever it is in your chart, that's where the potential to go completely deep, I mean, to go so deep into someone or something that you completely transform yourself, is possible. So that's been a lot there. And then you've had Pluto going through your 12th house. And why do I always talk about Pluto? Well, Pluto has been squaring the nodes, and it's still squaring the nodes. And so this is a big deal. Pluto is a planet of transformation. And also, as the modern ruler of Scorpio, is about regeneration, is about power struggles, and ultimately empowerment. So moving that planet through your 12th house has hopefully given you a place and a space where you're able to go into your shadow, into your unconscious, find those places where it's the house of self-undoing, the 12th house. And I think of this in two different ways. It's like the things that we're not conscious of, the things that we can't see, sometimes can be the things that trip us up and that create an undoing, right? A loss in some way. Or they can be the things that we didn't see, But once we become conscious of them, we can choose to untie the knots, undo things that maybe were bringing us dissatisfaction or troubles, or making us feel alone or isolated, or bringing it's also the house of hidden enemies. So bringing kind of maybe some adversarial forces that we didn't even realize we were kind of attracting by whatever we were radiating out. And so Pluto going through that and going to be coming over your ascendant very, very soon. It did earlier this year, but really, really transforming yourself, your identity. So being so close to the end of Capricorn, this is going to be lighting up, in a sense, your whole chart. Hitting the ascendant, hitting the descendant. So transformation of self is going to continue to be a really big theme, and ultimately empowerment of self. And Pluto squaring, if it's not already, that 10th house, that midheaven, and that bottom of the chart. So igniting the potential for a larger transformation, a larger phoenix moment, a larger portal of ultimately empowerment and authenticity, and really unshakable self-appreciation and love and acceptance for others as well. It's a very, very powerful time for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is a really, really big time for you guys. And again, don't be afraid. When I use these big words, it's like, sometimes it's scary with astrology, right? It's like, oh my gosh, all these things are going to change. It's Pluto. It's don't be afraid of any transit. Okay. No planet, no transit, no anything in your life is going to make anything bad happen to you or make anything good happen to you, right? This is all about you and the way in which you choose to engage with the energy or not. Okay, so don't be scared. Don't fall into victim consciousness. If you're listening to people telling you, Pluto going over your ascendant is just going to be something awful, don't listen. Okay. Again, Pluto's not always the easiest planet. It's not sunshine, puppies, and rainbows, but Pluto ultimately is like that kind of really blunt best friend that's like tells you, hey, why are you dating this person that treats you like, poop? Don't do that. Why are you letting people speak to you in this way? Why are you, doing this? It's going to bring those kinds of things up. But ultimately, once you see it, everything gets so much better. Okay. So don't let anyone scare you with the Pluto in Aquarius moments or how it may be lighting up your entire chart. It's really exciting. All right. So pulling a card for you all. What have we got here? We have Turkey Spirit upside down. Interesting. All right. 61. So Turkey Spirit. What have we got here for my beautiful Aquarius and Aquarius risings? So we have the protection position here. Interesting. Okay. Are you giving in order to receive in kind, keeping tally of how much you have given and what is owed to you? This is not the way to experience abundance. When Turkey Spirit is in the protection position, it is a reminder to let go of any perception of scarcity or fear that if you give too much, you will not have enough for yourself. Use your spiritual practices to reconnect with spirit and remember how it feels to embody abundance. And you will give as much as needed right now. Know that whatever you need to fill your stores is coming to you right now. Love, prosperity, knowledge, and assistance from allies who are everywhere and want you to be the abundance you seek. Turkey Spirit is here to tell you that everything evens out when you are aligned with the law of abundance as spirit wants you to be. Abundance is yours. Woo! So yeah. I mean, Taurus and Scorpio is that giving access too. And sometimes Scorpio can be too giving. Sometimes Taurus can be too. People don't usually associate that, but Taurus does have a very generous nature. It just doesn't want to be taken advantage of, right? Does anyone really? We all have Taurus somewhere. All right, so there you go, my beautiful Aquarius and Aquarius risings. All right, Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So this energy moving through your fifth house. Fifth house, opposing your 11th house. So the fifth house is the house of creative self-expression. I call it the fun house, right? It's play, it's games, it's hobbies, it's theater, it's our audience. So it can be literally where we get on stage, right? For those of you who are in any kind of performance art, this could be a place where this shows up for you. But if that's not you, it's also our audience. And what does that mean? That means the people that we get in front of, right? The people that we share our creative projects with, the people that we share our creative self with, the people that we want to interact with in our play, in our games, in our hobbies, in our wherever it is we're putting ourselves out there, so to speak. It's also the house of risk taking. There's a little bit of gambling energy there as well, right? When you take a risk, you are making a little bit of a gamble, but it's the house of taking risks. It's the house of children. And that may be in a literal sense, but that could also be your inner child. It's the house of romance and love affairs as well. So, got Taurus sitting in that fifth house of all of these places and spaces. So, with Taurus energy in that fifth house, what has changed for you in the last 2 years where you're recognizing worth in things like play, in things like creative expression, in things like your inner child, or potentially spending time with your children, if that applies to you? Where have you been finding that the way you value these things has changed? Why do I say change? Because Uranus is there. So Uranus shaking some things up. There may have been ways in which you expressed yourself, or groups that you were a part of. Maybe it was, a sport, or something like that. It could have been a dance group or whatever it is. How has that changed the way in which you're expressing yourself? Do you feel like you still resonate with any of those games or hobbies? That's a possibility. But a lot of this has to do with valuing yourself and valuing what you have to give in a creative way. Being able to, it's kind of an interesting blend here, talking about risk taking and Taurus, right? Because Taurus is not exactly known for wanting to stick its neck out and put itself out on a limb, right? Though that really kind of belongs to other signs. But Taurus, can you risk being seen, right? Or excuse me, it would be Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Can you risk being seen? Can you risk doing things that maybe seem frivolous? Can you risk making more time for play, making more time to do things that bring you joy? Can you take a little bit more risks, maybe in romance? And that could be literally romantic gestures with your partner, but it could be also romancing yourself. That's Taurus. Take yourself out for a date. Buy yourself flowers, right? That Miley Cyrus song, I can buy myself flowers. Yes, you can. And this doesn't mean that you don't have partnerships, or that you don't want to, have someone else bring those things to you as well. But it is that energy of, when we give freely of the things that we want, it's easier to get them back, right? And just being mindful that you're not overgiving or undervaluing yourself when it comes to your creative expression, right? Because on the other side of this, we've got Scorpio in that 11th house. So 11th house is the house of friendships and groups and teams and the future and forward thinking, right? Science and technology and all those kinds of things. So you're really wanting to dive into those areas in deep ways, right? Wherever Scorpio is, Scorpio wants to go deep. It wants to merge with something outside of itself to create something beyond what an individual could do on their own. And this is true, right? Taurus can only do so much by themselves. Any individual can only do so much by themselves. And at a certain point, to get to a new level, to get to the next level, to get to a bigger level, to have relationships, we've got to be willing to risk being vulnerable with other people, joining our resources with other people, giving of our talents and our creative expressions with other people. Now, when we're talking about the 5th house, the 11th house, the key here is choosing the right people. Okay, wherever you have 5th house, 11th house, or you have Leo and Aquarius, which for you happens to be that 2nd house, 8th house axis, whom you choose to surround yourself with, the groups, the hobbies, the forward thinking, whatever it is, it needs to be something that honors who you are as an individual as well. Okay, because that's going to affect not only your ability to create, but your ability to be seen in your joint ventures. And with Scorpio, there's the risk of like, can I go deep with people? There's also the risk of going too deep in with the group so that, you lose your sense of identity. So what's been going on for you in those areas? How has your people you want to be around, your friendships, the things that you're interacting with, how has that been changing for you? Do you resonate with the same people and places and spaces that you did? Are you finding that you want to spend more time with your creative self, your playful self, your inner child, or again, if you're a parent, your actual children? Is that becoming more of a focus, right? There's always places and seasons. So if you are a parent and you hadn't been able to spend time with your children for whatever reason, excuse me, I've been talking for a while. And now you can, really seeing that. And how can you keep incorporating that going forward? Because we've got those nodes, the North Node in Aries moving through your 4th house, and really kind of lighting up this energy around home, right? Versus out there where the South Node is. So there may be really some changes happening around your self-concept and how you relate in here to out there, because you've had Pluto going through that 1st house since 2008. So really transforming either your self-concept, your self-identity, or the way in which people know you in some way. Yeah, and that could have been through change of job, change of friend groups, change of status, change of life circumstance. Maybe you got married, maybe you had kids, maybe you moved to another state, maybe you started a company, whatever that is. Those things have been going through a lot of changes. So really, really looking at that. And then, with this Saturn Neptune in that 3rd house, just want to say briefly here, being aware of who you communicate with and who's in kind of your local circle. So making sure that you've got people who recognize your special gifts and talents. Sometimes Capricorn and Capricorn rising, it's an interesting thing because people can kind of just look at you as like, oh, they're the reliable one, they'll do it. Oh, they're the, one that always shows up. Oh, they're the responsible one. And that's true. But don't forget to surround yourself with people who also recognize your talents, who also give you respect, and who also recognize your need to cut loose and have fun, because, you are fun. You really are. All right. Ooh, balancing all those places and spaces. All right. So pulling a card from the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. Just going to give these a quick shuffle. So pulling a message. What wonderful message is for my Capricorn and Capricorn risings? So much changes happening for you. So much empowerment happening for you guys. Wow, over the last, 15 years. But we're just going to stick to these last 2 years, right? Lots and lots of transformation. Lots and lots. So what message do we have for my friends? All right. Huh, you got groundhog spirit. So groundhog spirit saying time to let go. How perfect for the for the full moon, lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Needing to let go. Needing to let go. All righty. So, okay. Endings lead to beginnings, and death is a part of life. So, Groundhog Spirit is here to let you know that it is time to accept the natural ending of something that is no longer serving you. We love to hold on to what is familiar, but the new but the new needs space to arrive so growth can occur. When groundhog spirit appears, it is a sign that there is something in your present situation that you need to let go of so that something new can be born. Something that will far better serve you now. When the groundhog sees its shadow, he retreats to his den. So too might you yearn for a little more time to say goodbye and transition into the new. However, change is coming and it is good. So let go of your resistance. Spring brings many blessings, and what must die will always be reborn in a new form that will be right for you. Life requires change and detachment. Say farewell to whatever once served you and get ready for something amazing to take its place. Spirit is already sending it your way. I love that. Capricorn and Capricorn risings. So, sending you so much love during this eclipse. All right, Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. My Sag people at. So we've got this eclipse happening in your sixth house. The sixth house has to do with our day-to-day affairs, right? It's the routines and rituals that we do day in and day out. It's the little stuff, right? It's our diet. When I'm talking about diet, I'm not just talking about, diet culture and what you eat, but it's about what you consume. So this could be friends, work, environments, media, books, movies, whatever it is you're taking into your person, right? Taking a look at that. It also has to do with your health, your exercise, and your wellness. The sixth house is a house of unequal relationships. So that is like bosses and employees, teachers and students, things like that, right? A mentor and an apprentice. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about unequal relationships here. Sixth house can also talk about your coworkers and your work environments. It has to do with pets and small animals and also service. So being of service, but remembering not to be in servitude. So sixth house Taurus. Well, you work hard. Let's just cut right to the chase. You're definitely a hard worker, right? And what you want to do with Taurus is look at things that are of value to you, right? Because whenever we have Taurus in the chart, we're looking at what is worth putting our effort into. And so looking at your day-to-day life, what is worth putting your effort into? What is bringing you health and wellness, joy, prosperity? What are you being recognized for? What are you being valued for? Right? If you happen to be at work, or again, maybe this is an apprenticeship or it's a student-teacher relationship or whatever this is, are you being valued for your special gifts, talents, and resources? Because if you're not, right, when Taurus in the sixth house doesn't feel valued, it's going to take a toll on your physical body. Okay, it's going to take a toll on your wellness. So that could show up in a number of different ways, but it's going to cause some kind of unease within the body. And so if that's been happening for you, taking a look at how you can change some of these things. Baby, come here. Hey, come here. There'll be no barksies. There'll be no barksies. There's no barkings. I know they started it. Hi, I know they started it. I heard. I did. I heard. I did. Okay. All right. Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. Sixth house. This has to do with your day-to-day affairs, right? The little things that we do each and every day. So those have to do with your routines, your rituals, your diet. And I don't mean diet culture necessarily. I'm talking about what it is you consume, right? That could be anything, food, movies, books, gossip, whatever it is. Making sure that those things are in alignment has to do with your health, your exercise, and your wellness. And the sixth house is also the house of unequal relationships. So, what am I talking about there? I'm talking about relationships that have to do with like a boss and an employee, right? A mentor and an apprentice, a teacher and a student, those kinds of things. We're not on the same level as we would be in the seventh house, which is supposed to be more about equality, same level. So, Taurus, Taurus. Oh, I didn't finish. Sorry, I've got my sweet little dog over here. The dogs next door are barking and it's driving her crazy. So, speaking of dogs, the sixth house does have to do with pets and smaller animals. This is the house of service, being of service, right? But not necessarily being in servitude, which is something that unfortunately for Taurus can be a little easy to happen. And what do I mean there? Well, Taurus, you're a hard worker. As I've mentioned, you know how to work. So Taurus has no problem putting energy and effort into things, right? It's actually pretty easy for you to do. The challenge here is asking yourself, is it worth it? Right? Is it worth all your hard work, effort, your longevity, your willingness to go the distance and to really like stand fast and stay fast? Is it worth it? Right? Are you being recognized for your own worth? Right? Your talents, your gifts, your capacities. Are those things being recognized here? Because with the sixth house of unequal relationships, if you've got like, let's say a boss employee relationship here, if you've got a boss that just wants you to continually put your head down and work, put your head down and work, put your head down and work overtime, work more, you can do those things, but is it worth it? Is it worth the toll that it takes on your physical health? Right? Remember, Taurus, it's okay to take breaks. Taurus, wants to kind of have a little bit more peace and tranquility as well. Just because you can work really hard doesn't mean you have to work all of the time. So making sure that you are valuing your time off, you are valuing yourself. If you're in a job and an apprenticeship, something like that, making sure that to whatever extent you can, you're recognizing what you bring to the table. Okay. And if it's not there, being willing to make a change. Because the beautiful thing about Taurus is that Taurus is there for the long haul. Taurus is the rock, and Taurus is solid, and Taurus can withstand. But that's also the challenge. Sometimes Taurus can stay too long in a place where it's not being valued. So just taking a look at those things. How has that changed over the last 2 years? Right? How has that changed? And how is that, helping you improve your health and your wellness? And how is that helping your day-to-day life be better when you start to recognize that you're valuable and you have worth, and what you spend your time on every single day really does add up? All right, so that 12th house, Scorpio, going deep out into the mystical realms, the far away realms, the need to have time to yourself, right? So 12th house is places where we are far away, where we are in isolation. Scorpio can also, in a sense, show us where we regenerate. This also has to do with the 8th house as well. So with your water houses being that for a 12 here, you do have a great capacity for tapping into the beyond, to have intuition, to really feel very deeply about a lot of things, whether or not you recognize it, right? Sagittarius and Sag rising, you don't always want to go there, right? My Sag is, you kind of would rather just be optimistic and be cheerful and, look for the best in everything. And you've got that Scorpio kind of 12th house that reminds you underneath that, it can be a lot of pain, can be a lot of sadness, can be, the ashes moment before the rebirth, right? That those things are important too. So hopefully not feeling blindsided by those things, hopefully not feeling overly disappointed if you have come up against needing more space or potentially being in a space where you found yourself in like an ashes moment and you needed to, be reborn, knowing that there's always a tomorrow, knowing that there's always another version, right? Knowing that whatever is in the basement of self, whatever is in your unconscious, or in fact, the collective unconscious, right? Whatever you're day to day interacting with in that 6th house really does affect your 12th house, right? You have kind of this ability to tap into the pulse of unconscious energies around you. And so looking at that, making sure that with Scorpio, that you're not using the abilities to tap into the collective in a way that creates a power struggle or that is going too deep, or in some cases maybe inappropriate, because Scorpio has the ability to pierce right through, to penetrate right through into potentially other people, right? And so this doesn't always get talked about, but when we're talking about like spiritual hygiene, because 6th house also has to do with hygiene, are you tapping into other people when you kind of need to mind your own business, right? Are you tapping into a collective pain when really it's not serving you, right? You're kind of going deep into those things, and instead of, I don't want to say, instead of being able to just hold a container but stay detached from it, you're kind of taking it on sometimes. And again, this could be unconscious, or maybe you're picking up on something, and so you're really trying to figure out where it's coming from. And so potentially sometimes with Scorpio in the 12th, we can be penetrating into places where it's not appropriate for you to go. So make sure that you're not using that psychic energy to push too much into someone else's field without their permission, right? Because that has a rebound effect as well, that can show up as discomfort and unease in the physical body, right? On that other side, on that 6th house side. So just making sure that with all the talk of spirituality and everything that's going on, sometimes people aren't talking about spiritual hygiene in that kind of a sense. So just making sure that, you're not going too deep where you don't need to go, because it will affect you and the people around you in a way that can lead to power struggles, right? And we don't need to go there. All right. So back to that 6th house. Well, you've got that 6th house, 12th house squaring off with Pluto in your 2nd house. So your house of resources, right? That's that Taurus house in the natural zodiac. So Pluto going through since 2008 and really transforming your sense of legacy and of your sense of governing yourself, your sense of being able to be your own authority, and how that has changed or affected the way in which you see yourself, the way in which you value yourself, the way in which you're able to make money or retain money, right? All of those things undergoing a lot of changes, and some of this having to do with, again, that underlying, that Scorpio seller of self, the house of self undoing, which can be dual-sided, right? It can be the things that are going on in the subconscious that we don't necessarily see, that are leading to unwanted responses in our outer life, right? But once we see them, once we bring them to light, we change it from an undoing in the sense where we're tripping ourselves up and causing ourselves troubles, to untying and undoing knots, right? I like to look at it that way too. It's like I'm untying this cable that kept me kind of bound up that I didn't even know was there. And now I'm free of it. So really being able to do those things as well and taking a look at that. All right. So pulling a card for you using the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. Colette Baron-Reid. So what message wants to come through for my beautiful? Ooh, this one. Okay. So clear out the clutter. Frog Spirit. That's the message. Speaking of clutter in the 12th house. Oh my gosh. Spirit has such a sense of humor today. I'm loving the cards that are being chosen for each sign. They're so perfectly on point. Oh, I'm so glad I picked up this deck. I almost didn't do it, but I listened to that inner knowing. All right. Frog Spirit, clear out the clutter. Here's your message. Frog Spirit knows that while all the other frogs are croaking away, this is a time for you to simplify and declutter your life so you can feel content on your own lily pad. Hi, Taurus and Scorpio energy. Even when life isn't creating a total cacophony, we can become drawn to the excitement of a lot of noise. Then the next thing we know, our schedules and homes are cluttered with commitments we regret making and objects taking up valuable space. Even relationships need decluttering as they often become messy. Frog Spirit appears to tell you to clean house, prioritize what you need, and get rid of or give away the rest so that you can have space in your day and in your head. Hi, 6th house, 12th house. All right. You don't need the old stuff and its stories shouting at you about the past. Along with physical clutter, friendships are sometimes kept long past their expiration date, weighing you down with unnecessary baggage. Now is the time to let go. Whatever you need will appear when you need it, so release your grip on all that clutter that is making you feel anxious and burdened. Frog Spirit wants you to reclaim your space unencumbered by shoulds, oughts, and could have beens. Let go and jump. You are free from all that old stuff. Frog Spirit, doubling down on that message. Yes, simplify your day-to-day life. Get rid of that unnecessary psychic baggage. And I'm going to say psychic drama also, unconsciously being drawn into wanting to investigate. Scorpio is an investigative sign, what's going on with other people. So kind of, simplify, be peaceful, be unbothered by whatever else is going on around you as much as possible. All right, my Sages and Sag risings, loving this eclipse for you. Scorpio and Scorpio rising. This eclipse happening in your 7th house. Well, 7th house, we've got one-on-one relationships, right? These are our romantic partners or our business partners, or I didn't put it down here, but it's really any relationship where we are closely knit, choosing to join together and are on some kind of equal footing, right? As opposed to the 6th house, which is unequal footing. So this could also be open opponents and adversaries, right? The 6th house does have to do with those things. This is the house also of projection and self-projection. And this is the house of the other. So with that descendant being over there and connected to that 7th house in Taurus, you're looking for a partner that is stable, right? You're looking for a partner who's secure, a partner that feels valuable, and you're going to want that in return, right? So the challenge here on this 1st house Scorpio, 7th house axis that could have been coming up for you is Taurus needing to meet its own needs, right? Taurus is an I related sign. Aries and Taurus are really the most personal of all the signs. And Taurus needs to have self-autonomy in a lot of ways, right? Needs to be able to provide for itself, needs to recognize talents, gifts, capacities, to have a clear sense of this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table, and this is how I'm valuable. And the challenge in the 7th house of other people, it Taurus can sometimes kind of forget to do those things for itself. And it can be looking to someone else to fulfill their needs. So making sure that you're really letting go of any of these scorpionic tendencies to want to overmerge with other people and have other people do for you things that you need to be doing for yourself. Okay, there's going to be a lot of that kind of messaging that's been coming up either over the last 2 years or maybe is coming to a fullness and a crescendo over these next 6 months with this eclipse. So, with those two energies, right, self and other, almost in a sense like reverse, right, because we have that scorpionic I and you is an us, right? So you're really, really focused on your deep partnerships, and who you get into relationship with really can have an impact on your self-perception, right? So making sure that whomever you are choosing to join forces with, in whatever way that that comes out, is a relationship where you maintain a sense of autonomy even when you are connecting with and unionizing with someone else, with something else, right? Because those lines can get a little bit blurry. So remembering that you are just as important as the other person, and remembering that it's also your job to be able to have some space, to be able to take some time for yourself, and to be able to meet your own needs so that when you do come into partnership, there is more stability, there's more peace, there's more equality in that seventh house, right? That first house, Scorpio. Love it. Love that Scorpio rising, that first house Scorpio, right? Really having an intensity to you, really having the ability to see deeply into yourself and potentially into other people as well. With Scorpio, there's a lot of investigative nature, right? Wanting to go deep, wanting to get into whatever has almost a sense of intensity, right? Like having this need for excitement. Um, there's a sense of maybe a little bit of like an unpredictability, right, to you. And that's great. And making sure that you're authentically living those things, especially with the generation who has Uranus in Scorpio. So that happened, let's see, kind of the mid 70s through the beginning of 1981. So for that generation, especially with this in the first house, is transforming, breaking free from other people's expectations of who you're supposed to be. Right. Breaking free from, transforming from living in a sense, a life that you think you're supposed to be living, and really, really getting to the bottom of who you are and being just that beautiful, full, authentic essence of self, and how that really does when you dare to do that, when you're vulnerable enough to really just, let it fly, as it will. Again, not licensed to be a jerk, but really just allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing people to see the quote unquote weird parts of you, or the parts of you that are, the tender parts as well, that it creates more stability in your partnerships, right? It creates more value in your partnerships because you're really meeting yourself and you're meeting other people, hopefully making sure that you're choosing people who are also giving that back to you, right? So that you really can have that equal footing, have that security, have that peace of mind going on there. So I love that for you guys. I really, really love that for you guys. With Pluto in that bottom of your chart, that IC area, right, opposing that midheaven, really this eclipse has the potential, depending on where it falls for you, what degrees those things fall for you, to really be kind of energizing your entire chart. And there's the potential there to have kind of a version, whatever 0.0, a phoenix moment, in lots of areas of your life, how you're seen in the public, how you're seen at home, how you're seen for yourself and in your partnerships, that all of those things could be undergoing a lot of transformation as well. Remember, these things are always for the better in the long run. So getting that extra, that extra push there. So, all right, we've got oracle card for you from the spirit animal deck. So, all right, for my, oh, there it is. Okay. Whale spirit, trust the great mystery. Well, it's upside down, so we'll see what message comes through for that. In this deck, there are upright and reversed meanings. So whale spirit, I love whales. They're so beautiful. I miss living right on the coast where I could see them often, but at least I'm out on the coast quite a bit. All right, it's just not every day. All right, whale spirit. Ooh, I have the reverse message. Okay, here we go. Certainty is not offered to you right now. You are being asked to trust the process of co-creation. Whale spirit reminds you that your primary reality is not that of the material world, but of that of the realm of spirit, from which the essence of your dreams and desires take shape before arriving as a specific form. You must trust absolutely that you must trust absolutely that what will come will be for the highest good. Stay in your present moment awareness and allow the hidden realms to hold your intentions safely until it is time for them to manifest in the realm of form. Let go, for you will not be left behind. Some things take longer than others to arrive. Yeah. Yeah. Whale spirit. I love that, lining up with that whole Pluto lighting up the angles of your chart. It would have potentially earlier this year, right, when Pluto went into Aquarius, because it's going to be highlighting all of the fixed signs, which, just as a reminder, are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So coming on the precipice of potentially great transformations around your entire life. And so with Pluto, resistance is futile. That's what they were just reminding me. But really it is. With Pluto, we undergo a lot of changes and a lot of transformation. It's the planet not only of death and rebirth, but of disempowerment and ultimately empowerment, right? We have to figure out one to get the other. And also, the energy of digging for buried treasure, right? It rules over things that you dig for. Like if you've ever dug for gold or gemstones or things like that, you really don't walk around and just kick a big, giant opal. You have to dig for that. You have to mine for that. You have to put in the work for that. And so with that energy, there's a trust that whatever transformations are taking place in whatever area of your life that they happen to be highlighting, right now it's going to be, again, the self and the other, that partnerships and potentially your inner world, your home, and also towards that top of the chart, just depending on where your your MC and IC and all those things, what degrees they're at. But being willing to let go and to trust that whatever changes are happening really are for your highest good, and resisting plutonic changes just does not work well. Pluto just gets louder. So as we move into the next seasons and as you continue through these eclipses, which will happen, the energy will last for at least 6 months, if not over the next year, as we overlap with the new energies in Aries and Libra. That south node moving through your 12th house, a lot of this is going to be about trust and about, trusting the process, trusting procreation, letting things change as they change. So sending you all so much love, Scorpio and Scorpio risings, that this is really can be a beautiful time for you. So, all right, we got Libra and Libra rising, 8th house. So Libra and Libra rising, we've got other people's resources being highlighted here. So when we're talking about other people's, we're talking about joint resources, potentially your partner's resources, whatever partnership that is. It can be inheritance, it can be wills. In a practical sense, it could be accounting. Maybe you're an accountant, or this has something to do with accounting. Again, other people's money, right? Taxes as well. Always love that one. It's the house of transformation and regeneration, right? It's the house of psychology and that psychological processing, right? That shadow work and uncovering all of those things. It rules the occult, which means things that are hidden, and also esoteric subjects. So things where you can really dive deep, right? And really look into whatever is transformative. And it also has to do with taboo subjects. The eighth house can have to do with things like sex and death, and taxes, and as I say, those kinds of taboo areas. So you've got that Taurus sitting up there looking for stability, right? Looking for value, looking for peace of mind. Also, Taurus is a very, very peaceful sign in that eighth house. So how has that been changing for you in the last couple of years? When you look at the way in which you're merging your energy with other people, your resources with other people, is it worth it? Right? Are you recognizing that even though you're in a partnership, right, that you also have value, you have worth, you have autonomy, right? How has that been changing for you? The resources that are available could be changing for you as well. There could be a change of fortune in a sense, especially with Uranus there. Uranus brings changes of fortune. So that could be something that was wanted, maybe you having gains of resources, including money, or losses. It could also be that your partner maybe has had to, if you are in a partnership, maybe take a little bit more of the responsibility on that. Maybe they're on the end where they have a little bit more that they've been able to contribute financially, or something in that way, or again, as a resource. If you're looking at maybe it's a creative project or something you're trying to get off the ground, that maybe there's been a little bit of challenge with that Scorpio on the second house of what you've been able to generate or give, maybe in a tangible way. So looking at value, this is really the axis of values and of resources. So with the South Node moving through Scorpio over the last couple of years, how have you changed what you want to give your time, attention, values, creative resources to? Do they still feel like they're the same things for you, or has that been in flux? Has that been changing? Some of this also has to do with where Pluto has been going through that fourth house of the inner self and inner resources, that maybe there's been a big transformation in either your family structure, or this could be your ancestors or your roots, or digging deep into those places. Being able to pull up some buried treasure that maybe is affecting the way in which you can do partnerships, or things that you're able to bring to the table, or perhaps this is your partner, if partnerships are relevant for you at this time. But looking at with that Scorpio energy, are there ways in which, almost in a sense, like you can let go of having to be so self-reliant, that potentially you're able to get some additional help from other resources, or able to tap into that in some kind of way, seeing that, with that Mercury there as well, being able to communicate that, but also being able to dig deep into yourself. Like Scorpio on that house of self resources, one of your greatest assets is your ability to go deep, to really get to the bottom of things, to be able to investigate things, to be able to transform something. So it's, being able to take a little bit and make a lot out of it, or whatever that means for you, able to do that. Scorpio is a very creative energy too. Like Scorpio is not just destructive. And so what is it that you're wanting to create here in that second house of resources? What is it that maybe you had to let go of in your ability either to earn, to create, or to have resources in order that something new and transformed and phoenix can take its place, that there is a regenerated sense of self that ultimately can help your ability to get resources from other people who are stable, who share the same values, who are able to recognize your special talents and gifts as well. So you've got your South node that's going to be moving through that first house too. So again, whatever partnerships, whatever maybe over reliance on other people, or feeling, or the opposite side, with that in that first house, maybe feeling like you have to do all the work in the partnership. It's all about you, and kind of recognizing that it's not, that you really can balance these energies, right? Because in a sense, like your whole chart is going to be, especially if you happen to have Libra rising, maybe not so much Libra sun, depending on when your sun is, but definitely for that Libra rising, really being able to harmonize, really figuring out interdependence. And what does that mean? There's a really big theme coming through from the last couple of years and going forward into the next couple of years as well, about those kinds of energies: harmony, balance, interdependence, and figuring out if those things are in balance and what is worthwhile, and making sure that you're including yourself and you're including other people in your list of values and resources as well. All right. Sorry, my voice gets sometimes from talking. All right. Pulling a card for you. Spirit animals. What beautiful messages do we have? Woo! That one for our Libras and Libra risings. All right. Pig spirit. Wow, so many of these are upside down today. A lot of them are in the reverse position. So, pig spirit, using your mind wisely. But in the reverse, are you using your mind wisely? Let's see what it has to say. Sorry, these aren't like tarot where I just have all the things kind of memorized. And I really like the way she works or words things. So that's why I'm reading from the book today. All right. Are you ruminating, turning thoughts around and around in your head, but not getting nearer to a decision or a solution? Pig spirit is here to protect you from analysis paralysis. Let your mind rest now and allow your intelligence to mingle with the mysteries of intuitive guidance, releasing your tight hold on facts and unsolved puzzles, whether it be a relationship or any other aspect of your life. In fact, now might be a good time to think about something else altogether and release your grip on needing to know. When your thought processes are muddied by fear and anxiety, allow pig spirit to lead you back to the right use of your natural intelligence. Take a break, relax, and release that ball of worry. Soon the smart choice will become clear to you. More facts may be needed, more digging for information, and more questioning. When seeking to learn more, enjoy the process of using your thinking prowess. All the elements of your intelligence are reliably guiding you now once you've given your mind a rest. So I love that. Beautiful. Yeah. Needing to let go, maybe, of worries around resources or how things are going to work out or how relationships are going to work out. Because the eighth house does have to do with our long-term relationships as well. So if that's relevant for you, sending you so much love, my Libras and Libra risings. All right, moving to our next sign. Virgo and Virgo rising, we've got this eclipse happening in your ninth house. So the ninth house, higher education. What do we mean by that? Education that goes beyond things that you would learn as an adolescent. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a university or a college. It could be trades, it could be apprenticeships, it could be spiritual lessons, learning things from ashrams or other cultures, other places, whatever it is. It's just things kind of beyond adolescence, which has more to do with the third house. It's also your belief systems, right? Your philosophies, your theosophies, publishing, marketing. It has to do with long distance travels, going again to things that are far away from you, whether that's another state or another country. And it has to do with foreign countries and cultures. So things that are outside of kind of your local environment. Again, that could be in the United States. That could be, you know, if you're from the West Coast, that could be the East Coast. It could be Brazil. It could be Europe. It could be wherever. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily have to be super long. It could be a county away from you, really. So in that ninth house, you value your beliefs, right? Taurus in the ninth, right? My Virgo rising. So really looking at that sense of space, that sense of travel, that sense of what is local and known and right around me and what is outside of that, and how those things have been changing over the last couple of years. Have you maybe started something like a YouTube channel or social media, and now you're finding yourself connecting with people that are further outside of your local neighborhood, your local town, right? Wherever you happen to be, and how that has changed or potentially broadened your value systems, right? Your ability to see your worth and your talents and your resources, right? Taurus has to do with all those things, and also your security. Like maybe you have found yourself in a place or a space where you're connecting with things that are bigger or more outside, and it's changed the way in which you're able to see and recognize yourself. And then looking at, you know, that Scorpio, that third house, wanting to go deep, wanting to know all the things, wanting to have conversations, wanting to have a deep connection with the people that are close by and around you, like really valuing those things, really learning a lot from other people as well. And how has this changed potentially your self-concept? How has this changed the way in which you communicate, the way in which you think, the way in which you speak, the way in which you learn? Um, since it's Taurus too, this could also be something to do with like your physical body. They're showing me learning like dance from another culture, or learning some kind of food or practices from another culture or another area, and how that leads to your growth and your expansion. The ninth house is an expansive house, right? This could also have to do with, as we say, publishing, marketing. Taurus has to do with the throat, so maybe even speaking in other areas, maybe singing, maybe you're a singer. Something to do with being able to use your physical body or use your voice in a bigger, more expanded way. Yeah, and really seeing and appreciating all of those things, or maybe being seen and appreciated by people, as we say, maybe more so lately from another place. So that's given you kind of a boost of self-esteem. So looking at all of that, and with Pluto going through that fifth house of Capricorn, right? It's the fifth house having to do with your audience, your potentially on stage, right? Not necessarily, but it could be. But it's the people that you're in front of. And with Capricorn, you take that pretty seriously, right? You're really able to put together a plan for the long run. You're really able to work for something. You're really able to sit down and put in the work for something like a game or a hobby or a sport, or again, maybe it's the theater, or I keep seeing singing, people singing for other people, other places, that you're really able to put in the work for that. And how much that's transformed since 2008. You know, Do you feel like you have more of a voice now? Do you feel like you are able to share your special talents and gifts with people who appreciate it? And maybe it's changed, and maybe it's broadened your horizons, like being able to open yourself up. Maybe you're feeling more at peace or at home in other cultures, and again, learning how to bring self-authority in through um, creative pursuits from other places, or kind of in a sense like taking the things, your creative pursuits, really seriously, and now that's paying off for you. Maybe you're able to publish a book about, you really got into, during during the 2020 times, you really got into cooking or something, and now it's like it's culminating because you put in the work for baking cookies, and now it's like you're getting a book deal, and that's opening things up and really opening your horizons. Could be something like that as well, or maybe that's something you're aspiring to. I don't know. But how has that changed for you in the last couple of years? Are you able to find a sense of stability and a sense of peace and a sense of self-worth from this expanded viewpoint? Yeah, and how that's changed for you. And is there anything that maybe you need to let go of? Maybe in a small-minded way, or maybe it's saying goodbye to a local space, or saying goodbye to even if you're a student and you're graduating, it could be, that transition time of moving from one place in your learning journey to another. You could be, a student of dance or culinary or theater. They keep showing me things like that. So, so that's out there for somebody. Somebody is needing that message. So yeah, looking for how is your viewpoint expanded, and how can you keep doing that, especially with Jupiter there in its own home. Jupiter really bringing you luck. So if you can tap into, especially over the next 6 months or a year, if you can tap into that Jupiter energy of wanting expansion, wanting to go higher, wanting to do more, giving that, some attention, so it can bring you some luck. All right. Whew. Cards. Oracle cards. Whoop. Oh, got Peacock Spirit. I love that. Okay, it was upside down. So many of these have come out in reverse, and I swear they're not reverse. Peacock Spirit, upside down. So protection message on this one, number 46. Peacocks. Oh, they're gorgeous, right? So special. Huh. Okay. Are you afraid of dancing with abandon because of what others might think? Do you think you may be punished if you shine too brightly? Have you been conditioned to expect hurt if you show yourself fully to the world? Maybe not everyone will celebrate your beautiful radiance when you shine, and that is okay. Peacock Spirit is here to remind you that while others may resist celebrating the beauty within them, although they may contract while you expand, and shake your tail feathers, smile and keep dancing anyway. Model for the good fortune and abundant joy that is yours, and soon someone will say, "Me too," and join you. Spirit loves you so much and wants you to enjoy the dance and shine your light. Oh, I love that. I love that. Speaking of dancing, I kept saying dancing. They're telling me to read the other position as well. I haven't done this for the other signs, but for you guys, they're telling me to read the other as well. So I'm going to read the non-protection message, the oracle message around Let It Shine, and whoever this is for, here you go. You're welcome. When is the last time you shook a tail feather and shined your light for all to see? Within each of us is a peacock spirit yearning for expression, and you are called now to show the world the gorgeous creature you are for the manifestation of a spirit. Come out from the shadows, Peacock Spirit says, and show your true color so that others may be inspired to express their own uniqueness and exquisiteness. Dance as if you remember that you were made of stardust and grace, filled with life force energy and sparkling light. You are a channel for divine love, and your dance is one of a kind. Catch the light and help it to shimmer and dance in celebration of your good fortune of being right here, right now. Spirit wants you to be joyful so that others may get up and dance along with you. So there you go. Ninth house. Yeah, expanding yourself, right? Appreciation of yourself, allowing yourself to be seen in a bigger way. Oh, I love that, Virgo. Don't be so hard on yourself too, Virgo. I just want to say that before I jump over to the next sign is there is something between the pursuit of excellence and the beating oneself up when you're not achieving what you perceive to be excellence. And so for my Virgo and Virgo rising, really with Venus there, recognizing the beauty of who you already are and the wonderful things that you already are and have to share. You've got that first, fifth, ninth house, earth energies, right? Really feeling that tangibleness in the world. And again, Capricorn sometimes in the fifth house can take a little bit longer for their gifts to shine or be seen. That's okay. Don't give up, right? And don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be too critical of yourself. Just remember that you are beautiful as you are, and all of your little pieces and all of your little quirks and all of your little, idiosyncrasies, that there are people out there that they value you, right? If you look at a peacock, who decided they were beautiful? Somebody. I'm sure somebody doesn't think they're beautiful, but they're kind of, they're unique. They've got those little things at the top of their head, right? And they've got those crazy feathers, and when you look at them, their legs are like super, super long, right? They're kind of goofy a little bit when you really look at them up close. I happen to have a lot of peacocks in a park that I walk my dog in almost every day, and um, they're kind of goofy. They're kind of silly when you see them up close, but there's something also really beautiful about them when they do decide to open up, right? And show the full essence of those feathers. I mean, it's really, really stunning. And so, Virgo, part of the Virgo and Virgo rising journey is about mastery, is about doing something over and over again until, in a sense, you become an expert at it, right? You achieve some level of perfection. And the pursuit of that is really, really pretty amazing. So be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, get your stuff out there, let your kooky little tail feathers fly, and be open to moving past the circles you're usually in and see if there's something wider out there for you. So I love that for you, Virgo and Virgo rising. I hope this brings you so many treasures. I love that. All right, moving on. Leo and Leo rising, 10th house. So woo, you got Taurus in that 10th house, that outer life, right? Your social life, what you're recognized for, your achievements and your honors, your reputation, how other people see you, kind of your walking business card, if you will. It's like that advertisement. It has to do also with outside authorities. And social structures. So that's our 10th house. And having Taurus there, I mean, you really, let's say, put work into your outer life. You put work into your social life. If you're a parent, you take those things seriously. You really value those areas. And having this in opposition with that fourth house, Scorpio, the really going deep, the wanting to regenerate at home, right? You may be very kind of like out there and in a sense, the rock in some ways, maybe in your job or you're seen in that way, the person that can always be counted on, and really wanting to go within as well and retreat back into your Scorpio haven. That's, kind of needing some time away. So it's like being in the spotlight and being away at the same time for your regeneration. And having this eclipse, having those nodes moving through that 10th, fourth house, also lighting up that first and seventh house. So in a lot of ways, the compass of the chart, right? That north, south, east, west, the rising, that I'm at home, what I look for in a partner, what I'm doing out in the world, all of those areas being really lit up and energized through the last couple of years with these nodes moving through. And so if you have any additional planets in Leo or Aquarius, this may feel more pertinent, but really looking at how your day-to-day life, how your routines, how what you're spending time on has been changing with Pluto going through Capricorn in that 6th house. So it could have been a time since 2008 when you really buckled down and got to the grind, as it will, and really were able to make great leaps and achievements in whatever it is you were trying to actualize. Again, whether those are honors or recognitions or having children or your social status, your career, right? Really putting in the work for that, and really, in a sense, like having to leave behind a part of self, a comforting part of self that was in your inner world, like really kind of having to break that open and be seen in a bigger way, especially with Jupiter going through that 10th house for you. So we have that bringing expansion, almost wanting to bring more energy up towards that top of the chart. And also with Uranus there, Uranus shaking things up. So I wouldn't be surprised if there has been a number of changes in your social status, in your career. Again, maybe this was having children, maybe it was getting married, maybe it was getting divorced. It could have been starting businesses. It could have been changing what you're focusing on, changing what you're known for, right? That maybe we're known for always doing this one predictable thing, and Uranus came along and shook it up, and now you're a little bit more unpredictable, or at least while Uranus is there. Don't know, but there's definitely a lot of energy about what's going on in your outer world, right? And needing to balance that, of course, with your inner world, because when Scorpio gets neglected, this is true for any sign, but when Scorpio gets neglected, it's going to take on the worst qualities of Taurus, right? And if Taurus is getting neglected, it's going to take on the worst qualities of Scorpio. And you can put those in all of the sign pairings. And so making sure that there's not an overemphasis on other people in your career, or needing things from other people, or maybe neglecting your home life, neglecting your inner world, letting that kind of go by the wayside. Those things won't help you. So making sure that you're balancing these energies between outer self and inner self, and really having, again, those changes, because you've got Pluto coming up, if it's not already hitting your descendant, but going into that 7th house area where, partnerships are going to really be coming up for you, and your 1st house as well, so yourself and other. So really making sure right now, especially with the nodes shifting, that you have a balance between outer life and inner life, and that you really have something that you value that you can stand behind, that not to say that you want to get all of your worth out of your personal life. That's a slippery slope, right? If you give all of your outer accolades kind of away, and that's how you're feeling valuable, Uranus and Jupiter as well are going to bring challenging circumstances, right? That's not going to work. They're going to be reversals of fortune. But if you can really be solid in who you are, and really share from understanding your own worth, your own value, your own beauty, whatever that means for you, it's going to go much better in the long run. Even if people don't necessarily get what you're about all the time, that matters a lot less, right? And being able to make sure that your home is also a place where you can regenerate, especially, again, as Pluto is coming up and going to be moving into that Aquarius, Leo axis of self and other, really making sure that, you're ready. You're ready. You're getting ready to be ready for the big changes that will be occurring for you in all of those areas, because that's going to light up your chart. You're one of the upcoming signs that's going to get a lot of power from the Pluto transit in Aquarius that will last about 20 years. So making sure you're preparing and paving the way and really knowing who you're about, not getting caught up in your self-worth, being your public image, but knowing who you are and knowing that that's what you can share no matter what comes out, right? That really being solid and really being able to be there for other people as well, because there are going to be other people that lean on you to a certain extent, right? So, yeah. All right. Oracle cards for Leo and Leo rising. This is the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. Colette, Baron-Reid. So what message do we have for Leo and Leo rising with that 10th house, 4th house, and that Pluto upcoming? So yeah, the energy of this eclipse, I mean, it's going to last, at least 6 months. That's going to take us into Pluto moving into Aquarius. So, yeah. Transformation nation. All right. Oh, Rhino spirit, overcome any obstacle. I love that. I love that. All right. Rhino spirit for my Leo and Leo risings. We have always had the choice to press ahead, and Rhino spirit's strength offers you the power to break through stubborn obstacles. This animal spirit knows there is more than one way to open a path to what you seek. When Rhino spirit appears, you are reminded that you have a marvelous ability to overcome obstacles in multiple ways by going around them, shattering them with the force and clear, deliberate intentions, or even transforming them into clouds that drift away by refusing to allow them to limit you. Apply your Rhino spirit with creativity, and no obstacle can stand, for you have magic to make and many ways in which to make it. Your power is awesome right now. Rhino spirit also wants to remind you that when an obstacle appears to prevent you from getting what you desire today, it means that something much better is coming. Keep that in mind when you consider the nature of the obstacle in front of you now. Great Spirit loves you so much and only wants the best for you. Oh, yeah, I love that. Use that Taurus tenacity, right? I love the busting through. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. So making sure that you're leaning on yourself, knowing that you are also a place of refuge for yourself. You don't always have to be that for everyone else. Make sure that they're valuing you as well, my Leo and Leo risings. All right. Oops. All right. Cancer and Cancer rising. 11th house. All right. The 11th house is the house of hopes and dreams. It's your vision of the future, right? It's your forward thinking. It's the house of liberation. It's the house of friends and groups and teams and organizations, of science and technology, innovation, social groups and movements, and global and humanitarian movements. So 11th house, a lot going on in that 11th house, right? And for my Cancers and Cancer risings, it has been a lot with Pluto going through that 7th house, right? Starting off and lighting up your chart of that 1st, 7th, 10th, and 4th, right? Those cardinal houses really getting transformation from Pluto. And with all of that transformation, all of the starting new things, because remember, cardinal signs initiate new things. In a sense, there's been also some changes to your fixed areas of your life, right? Even though Pluto isn't there yet, but it will be. Looking at that 11th house. So with the South Node going through Scorpio for a couple of years in your 5th house of creativity, of self-expression, of your inner child, or perhaps actual children, if that applies to you, whatever it is you're bringing forth, right? The 11th house, 5th house axis has to do with your audience and your audience selection, right? So who are you in front of? Who are your friends? Who are you sharing your time with? Who do you feel like you can be yourself in front of? That Taurus in the 11th house is an interesting energy, because Taurus is very much a self-reliant energy, or at least it's on the journey to being, depending on what planets you have in Taurus. And yet it's in the house
of other people, right? A lot of other people. It's in the house of Aquarius, which, is really more group focused. So we have a singularly focused energy in a group focused house. And so what does that mean? Well, in some ways, Taurus, you can be the rock of your friend groups, right? You really can be the one that holds everything together and really brings in a sense of community where people feel that they are loved and they are valued and they are recognized for their special gifts and talents. That happens to be one of your special gifts and talents. The challenge here is looking at, are those people, are those groups reflective of your values now? Because there's been a lot of changes with that South Node going through Scorpio. The things that you were creatively expressing before, the things that you were bringing forward, the groups that you were a part of, in a sense of, like what you like to play with, what are your hobbies, how you feel in those realms, they've been changing. And so, how has that changed your friend groups? How has that changed who you're in front of? Um, in a sense, with Scorpio wanting to really go deep, and Scorpio is a creation energy. I've been talking about that throughout this video, but it's not just a destructive energy. And I feel like so many times with Scorpio, the emphasis is on the death process of Scorpio and all this heavy intensity, and it destructs things, and and that's one side of Scorpio, but that's not all of Scorpio. And the other side has to do with creative energy. And what do I mean by that? Well, excuse me. If we're talking about the sexual organs, which Scorpio has dominion over, when you mix sexual fluids, there is the chance, right, that you can create a new life. It literally can bring new life, birth new things, potentially. So that's one way in which Scorpio is creative. Another way is it creates, in a sense, a third entity when it joins with another person. What do I mean by that? Well, in Libra, we have the you and the me, right? But when we decide to join together, when we decide to merge together, when we decide to, remember, Scorpio is a fixed energy, when we decide to go for the long haul together, when we really take that leap and we're vulnerable in that sense of wanting to join up with another person, a third entity gets born. There's the we, or there's the us. And that takes on its own thing, right? That's kind of life of its own. Even in astrology, when we're looking at synastry, right, we're looking at how each partner's chart affects the other, but we're also looking at what's called a composite chart. What is the goal of the relationship itself? Because you have one person, you have the other person, but you also have the relationship. And so that creates a whole new dynamic, and creative things are born out of that new place as well. And so when we're talking about Scorpio, again, we're talking about creating things. And so who have you been around? Who have you been merging your energy with? And do they really get you? Right? The fifth house is also the house of love affairs, too. So falling deeply in love with people, potentially very intensely. Are they people who value you? Are they people who get you? Right? Taurus, on that other side of self value, do your friend groups get you? Do they value you? Or are you getting lost in, I'm only valuable if I'm part of a group, right? Can you be a separate entity and be part of a group? That's been a question. And again, with Uranus going through there, there's probably been a lot of changes to who you are, to how you value yourself, or how you see yourself, or what you find valuable, what groups you find beautiful, or what you find security in. All of those things have probably been changing since Uranus went into Taurus about 4 or 5 years ago, and will continue to change as it goes forward. So how has that changed how you want to creatively actualize and show up? Because with Scorpio there, that's also how you regenerate yourself, is being creative, is through kind of inner child activities or through play. Like, it's really, really important to you. And especially with the water houses being in your first, fifth, and ninth houses, that really has to do, in a sense, with, like how do I want to say this? It has to do with your sense of self, that you really are very sensitive in a lot of ways, and you really can pick up on things very easily. And so making sure that whatever you're merging with, you have been maybe a little bit more selective, and making sure that it's not kind of, in a sense, like throwing you off course, especially with that Cancer Capricorn, right, axis in that first seventh house, and Pluto coming through and potentially transforming or bringing up power struggles that have had to do with those seventh houses, those relationships, right, and how that has potentially transformed your sense of self. So all of that changing, you know, your visions for the future, your friends, how you feel. And I hope it is my hope that you feel way more valuable, and that, you know, you really can see that you matter as well. And you don't have to just do things all the time for other people. And that no is a complete sentence, because Taurus actually has to learn that. It comes in, it's interesting because it comes in with no, but it also has to learn no. It's an interesting dynamic. But all right, pulling a card for my Cancer and Cancer risings. What do we need here? Yeah, and with those nodes moving, right? The nodes, North Node going through that 11th house for a couple of years, but now being in your 10th house, shifting, starting new things, right? And how you want to present yourself out in the world, and who you want to be in your private world and at home. Oh, that one almost flipped over. You know, I'm going to take that one. Interesting. Okay. Stag spirit, take the leap, in reverse position, number 58. So, all right. Others may not be as far along as you are on your journey. When stag spirit appears in the protection position, you are called to be compassionate and patient as you find yourself leading the way. Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah. Patient and compassionate, leading the way, Taurus in the 11th house, really actually being a leader. When others struggle to follow you, they may be unsure that you can be trusted, challenging you to be kind and strong, challenging your value and questioning your worth. Oh, I love Spirit is on point today. Know that Spirit has put you in this place at this time for a purpose and will not abandon you when you need help with your new responsibilities. Or perhaps you're actually uncomfortable leading and maybe temporarily trapped by your small self and are therefore promoting yourself too strongly, afraid that others might see your weakness or imperfection in you. Let go of your fears and let Stag Spirit remind you that you have what it takes to lead wisely and ethically if you practice self-honesty and listen to others who wish to support you. Cancer and Cancer rising. That was an awesome one. That was an awesome one. Wow. Yeah. So remembering that you don't have to support everyone, you can be supported. Maybe finding groups now that actually do support you. Maybe that's new for you. That's amazing. I love it. All right. Oops. I don't know why I keep doing that. All right. Last but not least, Gemini and Gemini rising, 12th house. Wow, the 12th house. Hard to put into words, right? It's actually the house that's in so many ways beyond words, but we'll do our best. So it's the house of mysticism and spiritual practice. What do I mean by spiritual practice? It doesn't have to be crystals and incense and chanting or being in an ashram or whatever that is. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could be, you know, a spiritual practice could be going and walking in a park, right? It could be picking up trash from the beach. It could be a lot of things. So it's whatever it is that's coming out of you that you are connecting with, that comes from the field or God or whatever it is that you feel connected to in that universal creation energy. 12th house is also dreams and visions. So literal dreams, it could be that your dream life has been in the evenings at night when you're sleeping, very, very active. Maybe you're having a lot of messaging coming through. Maybe you're doing a lot of astral traveling. Maybe you're working out a lot of things in your life. Just depends. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but looking at that, and then actually put this over here, I think. No, I'm not. Okay, sorry. And your visions. And that could be, again, in a spiritual quest sense, but it could also be the visions that you have that come in from the field, that come in from the creator itself, right? When you're able to connect to spirit, there is this beautiful energy that comes through you, right? And you have these visionary messages or gifts that come out, right? Has to do with the ethereal world and with ether. It's the house of the collective unconscious, right? It's where we tap into what Jung called, right, the kind of the collective unconscious, the shadow, being able to feel into, again, that field where we're all connected and where everything affects everything else. The 12th house has to do with places of seclusion and far away places. So places where far away, you're removing yourself from everything that's familiar, or maybe removing yourself from completely from other people. Sometimes it has to do with, it's why it has to do with hospitals or institutions, but also ashrams or places like that, going far away, places of, in a sense, isolation sometimes. It has to do with secrets. 12th house is where things are hidden, including hidden opponents. People that you, in the 7th house, you know who they are. You know that you have an adversary in some way. The 12th house, you're not really necessarily aware of that, or sometimes it comes through kind of in that more psychic way where someone, for whatever reason, maybe it's deserved, maybe it's not, it doesn't really matter, but is, you know, speaking ill of you. Right. And you can pick up on those things. We all can, especially if you happen to be sensitive to those energies. And it's the house of self-undoing. So I put this in an asterisk because to me, there's two ways of undoing, right? One is unconscious self-sabotage. But the other is being able to undo limiting patterns, right? Whatever has got us tied in knots, whatever has got us small, whatever has got us tripping ourselves up in that unconscious self-sabotage. Once we bring it to light, we're able to release those limiting patterns. We're able to move on from them, right? We're able to cross that ascendant and be self-actualized, okay, as those planets can go around in that kind of process. So 12th house, Taurus. One of the amazing things about 12th house and Taurus is picking up things in your physical body, right? So your physical health is going to need, in a sense, rest. It's going to need kind of space away. It's going to need things that are rejuvenating, that have to do with maybe it's poetry, maybe it's music, maybe it's dancing, whatever it is, that those kinds of things are really important for your physical self. And also with that 12th house, you know, Taurus, sometimes it's almost like you don't easily recognize what your special talents and gifts are, right? Or you don't recognize the beauty of you. Okay, sometimes it's like so the 12th house is where the sun is just meeting the horizon. There's this interesting dynamic that happens, right? It's like the sun, when it's just coming up, it's like you can just see it and everything is kind of in this beautiful mystical twilight, and then it's like bam, the sun's like blinding for a minute, right? And then you can't really see anything. So if you've ever driven in the early morning and you're driving into the sunrise, like it's like whoa, right? It can be hard to see. Now, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It's just, you know, there's something there that is putting a veil or occluding our ability to see clearly. And so sometimes with Taurus in that 12th house, it can be about not seeing yourself clearly, right? Not seeing your values, your worth clearly. And so with Uranus going through there, shaking that up, probably bringing things up to the surface, right? Being able to show you through your dreams, through synchronicities, through messaging, where you're getting tripped up, right? Where energy release needs to be, where there's been something that's been maybe in essence holding you back in a sense that needs an outlet, right? Taurus has so much to do with a grounding and a stability. So what's also beautiful about this energy, if this speaks to you, if you happen to do mediumship or readings, or you are channeling in any way from spirit, you have the ability to be grounded in it. Some people don't. Some people kind of get carried away in it, but there's something very solid about Taurus that if you're able to sit down with that energy and pull it inward and be able to embody it in some kind of way, it could be beneficial to yourself or others, or maybe you even work with something like Reiki. Maybe that's something that, or Qigong, or anything that works with like energy flow in the body is going to be really important to you in some way. And also because it's that 12th house of the collective unconscious, being aware that what's going on in the background, and this could be music you have going on in the background, or the TV on, or even just being in environments where other people are very gossipy or very kind of small-minded, kind of, you know what I mean? That we take those things in through our subconscious brain, and that comes in, and it does have the potential to affect your physical being or your sense of self-worth. And it may be like, I don't even know where that came from. Right? So checking in and making sure that you are working in places and spaces and ways where Taurus also has to do a little bit with physical boundaries, right? It has to do with our physical body has a boundary, and not, in a sense, letting things kind of violate that boundary. So just being aware of that. But that may be something that you're also really, really good at inherently. So that's sixth house. Scorpio, letting go of day-to-day routines, day-to-day practices, day-to-day rituals, potentially work environments, potentially your actual environment that's no longer serving you. That may be, I hate using these words because they get so overused, kind of hackneyed at this point, but toxic, right? Scorpio has to do with detoxification, especially in that sixth house, making sure that what you're taking in isn't, in a sense, poisoning you. Right. So there may be also an emphasis on needing, things that are like clean eating and clean living. And again, being around people who are more, not getting caught in that dark side of people, I guess I want to say, or that small mindedness of people. Because Scorpio, wherever Scorpio is sensitive. It's more sensitive than I think a lot of people realize. And Scorpio is able to take those things in and transmute them, especially if it's done in a conscious way. So again, having some kind of routine or ritual where you can alchemize yourself, you can regenerate, you can renew yourself. Being able to, with Scorpio, sweat, like actually get the body kind of moving, getting energy moving so it doesn't get stuck. Scorpio is a water sign. And but it wants to go deep, right? It's like that deep water. But what happens when water gets stagnant, right? It's yucky. Think about stagnant water in your body, stagnant emotions in the body. So because that sixth house has to do with health, making sure that you have routines that are moving energy through you, in whatever way that is for you, whether it's poetry, whether it's singing, whether it's music, whether it's making spreadsheets, whether it's, investigating things and getting to the bottom of stuff so that you feel accomplished, whatever it is, just making sure that you have a practice where you can move energy through you. Having that square to Pluto in your eighth house, right? So Pluto has been going through kind of its home sign, or not its home sign, its home house, its home territory. And Pluto, as the modern ruler of Scorpio, it's possible that over the last, however many years, but going back to potentially to 2008, there's been big changes or big transformations, or maybe even the revelations of power struggles with other people and other people's resources and how it's affecting you, going through that 8th house. And so that does relate back again to that Scorpio, and making sure that you're keeping yourself grounded and secure, that you're not taking in too much of other people's stuff, right? With that 12th house Taurus. So getting some kind of practice, again, whatever it is for you, whatever makes you feel peaceful. Taurus likes to be peaceful, right? The intensity of Scorpio, you may feel like you really want to do intensely, like clean your house or intensely work out or whatever, but making sure you balance that with the tranquility and the softness that is on that other side of Taurus. So making sure those other things are in balance, and then again releasing energies that are coming in that are telling you who you have to be, how you have to be, or how the world is, or whatever that is negative or victim consciousness inducing, because that 6th 12th house does also have to do with sometimes martyrdom and victimhood and servitude and things like that that are not necessarily pleasant. So making sure you're keeping yourself as cleansed of those things as possible, right? Not to be afraid of them. I mean, who hasn't gossiped? Who hasn't gotten negative? Who hasn't, sat and said, oh my gosh, why me? We all have, but it's just, making sure that we don't get sucked into those things for long periods of time, because it will affect your physical body and your ability to see your own worth and value. So, all right. Card pool, last card pool. What do we want, Spirit, for our Gemini and Gemini risings? All right. Okay. Oh, brown bear spirit, take time out. So speaking of places of seclusion and faraway places, taking time out. All right, what have we got here? It's upright. So there is a time to act and a time to focus your attention on patient strategizing. The arrival of brown bear spirit signals that you are best served by foregoing hard work towards your goals at this moment and instead taking time out to meditate or just take a nap so you can refresh yourself and begin planning what you want to co-create next. Come to know the lay of the land as you contemplate and imagine what you might do in vast space of possibility before you and begin forming a plan. Remember, sleep allows for dreaming and rest allows for clear-headed strategizing. How might you become the person you wish to be and experience whatever your heart desires? Insights will arise as you explore the possibilities and begin envisioning your plan. Knowing what you want will ensure you use your energy wisely in the days ahead. Be patient at this time. Relax and be calm and peaceful so you can recharge. The call for action will come later. Perfect. Perfect card for my Gemini and Gemini risings in that 12th house. All right, that was a bit of a marathon, but there was a lot to say there. And I'm glad I included those oracle cards kind of at the last minute. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, but thank you all so much for your comments, for letting me know how this resonates for you or doesn't. And I hope you guys have a really beautiful eclipse. There's a lot of transformation energy happening on the planet right now, and it can seem a little bit scary. Don't let yourself be pulled into the scary, right? And stay there. Remember, it's Scorpio season. You can transform anything. We're on the verge of changing so many energies and really moving into such a new, beautiful age where we'll be able to see our value more clearly and be able to move forward in our own self-agency and what we vision for our lives and help out other people from a place of understanding the value that we have, which is pretty incredible. So thank you all so much. I'm wishing you the best eclipse. Take care.